Hey everyone, trying to get you guys updated on what's going on with us in the organization. There's a couple of things that I feel are really important that you need to be checking in on for yourself as individuals, and then things we need to worry about as a collective. So first things first, Workday. It's been an issue. It's actually coming up more often with employees on their work site that they need to make sure that they're logging in and logging out. And that's not a hard ask. It's not in our contract, but it's actually in the handbook that we use the Workday service and that we check in and out, whether that be with our original login time and our original clock out time, and make sure that you're taking your duty free lunches and that you're logging in and out for those. Make sure you check in with your school operating manager to make any corrections if there's a late login, if it's the wrong punch time, if lunch needs to be corrected because they can't do those things on their own anymore. It's a violation. It's like they're correcting your logs and it's illegal. So that might be coming up a little bit more for some people. Check your personal PTO and PNL buckets. So PTO is paid time off, and really classified doesn't receive paid time off because it's an accrued time. We receive personal necessity leave, and that's where we are allotted a bucket of time according to how many years we've been in the organization. So check your balances either on your workday or on your check stubs. Those that are in the organization, the first 3 years, so year 1, 2, and 3, you receive an additional 5 days. Those that are with the organization year 4, 5, and 6, you receive an additional 10 days. And anyone 7 years or more, you receive an additional 15 days. So again, check your balance on your personal necessity leave or P&L time, but a lot of people frequently use the word PTO. Interchangeable, but don't mean the same thing, okay? Um, you can check that in Article 18.2 if you want to look in your contracts and highlight that area about your how many days you're allocated for personal necessity leave. There's also another article right up under it. A few of us have gone to work every day, and so you get perfect attendance, and then it has a clause there that talks about how perfect attendance is divvied out. For those that need to double check on your perfect attendance for school year 23-24, please email HR and Michael Lopez. Email HR and Michael Lopez about perfect attendance, and that's in Article 18.2.2. Sick time. I think the state of California made a change. They made a couple of changes. They made a change that had to do with sick time. They also made a change that has to do with bereavement. Those things are really important to us now. Greendot has now named family members or relations for bereavement. It used to be 3 days if it was local, and 5 days if it was over 100 miles or 200 miles. But now the state of California is allocating up to 5 days. And so in our organization, they are paid days. Make sure that you go into your work day, and in the drop down box, it says bereavement, and then you make notes about, is it your mom, your dad, grandma, family member that lives in the house, children. It's extended, but please look in your handbook, Green Dot handbook, to see how they labeled it out so that when those situations come up, you're prepared and you have enough time to try and handle family business or take time off for grieving and spending time with family. The other thing that I think is important for you guys to be aware of is we just had Green Dot Day, and some of the job descriptions had discussions with their coaches or either with their immediate supervisor about the evaluation that's going to be coming up. The evaluation format we did discuss with you guys is going to be changing. It has not been voted on by us. We have not approved it to be completely used it's in pilot form. They put it in the pilot last year, and only 2 to 3 schools were involved. They couldn't get enough feedback because all the job descriptions weren't involved on the campuses that were doing the pilot. So this is your opportunity to give feedback on what you like, what's uncomfortable, does it fit your job description, um, especially for instructional aides. Instructional aides are broken up in several different ways, and so this would be your time to kind of like make notes to the side and say whether it fits your job description. If it doesn't fit your job description, what you would like to see evaluated or asked or, put into policy and procedure for you to get a proper evaluation. Now, I personally, as Latonia, not the president, not a rep, and not an employee, compensation isn't tied to evaluation. So for me, they really aren't that important. I always use myself as the guinea pig or the test person to do the evaluations and make sure it's being done with fidelity. If it's being completed, I try to do it at the last minute to see what the repercussions are, if there's any disciplines. Same thing when we do our trainings in the beginning of the school year. I wait until the last minute personally to see how it's going to affect the employees, so I'm aware and I can explain it better to those that have gone over their the date that is required to turn them in, or if they're given extended dates and something comes up, how that looks, how they're going to be dealt with. So the first year that I did that, um, I turned mine in at midnight the day after the due date. I received a notice from my principal. I received a notice via email. Got on it. The second year I did it at midnight the next day after the due date, and I received a notice from HR, my principal, automated notice from the company that we do our trainings from, and I was put on non-paid leave. Some of us experienced that. So then they were able, once we turned everything in, they opened back our email, they gave us access to anything that we did with Greendot, and then we were able to return back to our school sites actively and be paid. With TB test and I think CPR certifications, little different. The organization normally sends you a notice out. They try to do it 6 months or 3 months and then lead up to the due date. The expiration date of your TB test being expired or your CPR card being expired. And those instantly, once they expire, you are put on non-paid leave until you can prove you have a clear TB test or you've completed your CPR training and you turn that into the organization, specifically HR. I would send it to HR and your principal. That way you have it copied at your school site and at the home office. And then there's another thing that goes along with the TB test. If an individual actually tests positive for TB, it goes into leaves, and you deal specifically with HR on how you're supposed to get clearance and how you turn that in. So you'll be dealing specifically with your medical provider and HR on how you get clearance and released to come back to work. If not, you're put on a non-paid leave. Please be aware of it. It is a non-paid leave. That's with if you don't complete your trainings on time, and specifically the safety one. Alice training is the one that they're really strict on. The other one is the TB test and your CPR card. If those expire, you don't turn them in on time, you will be placed on non-paid leave. Some of us have experienced that, so we can kind of tell you what that process is. But I always try to put myself in a position where I experience it first so I can explain it to any of the employees, so they're not too scared while walking through this. Social media and text message threads have been a hot topic this particular year. It's been going on since we came back from COVID, but since we've come back this particular school year, if you are not a PC, a OA are working with the community schools um, position or your SSOAs, please do not have any social media connected to your school or your students. We have some teachers and coaches that have their personal social media, and then they have their teacher or coach social media. And it's specific to promoting culture of when their games are, when they're meeting, when they celebrate, things that are geared around the school and the scholars, but not directly with the scholars or the students. The problem that we're running into is individuals have um, two social medias, one for their personal life and then one that they interact with students on, and it's becoming an issue. So it isn't in our handbook. I've been talking about this since I've been a part of the union, that it just isn't a good idea for us to have any type of social media connections with the students or kids. Greendot frowns upon it. It's now been placed in the Greendot handbook. If you're not aware of that, please go back and check the Greendot handbook. A lot of you are just clicking yes to get that task taken out of your box on Workday. There's at least 4 items that have been changed in the Greendot handbook that all employees need to be aware of, but I'm specifically saying classified because it affects us the most. Our PCs and OAs deal with students, parents, family, and community a lot. And so if it's geared towards that, if it's specifically the one for the school, we're not having an issue. But if it's your personal social media geared towards the school and students and community, my personal advice to you is that you delete that social media, that you not use that social media at all. For us that are instructional aides in the office that have direct contact with students via a text thread for reminders for tests or pulling them out or communicating information to their parents. Um, to us, things that are simple reminders or things that help us with our daily job are being frowned upon by the organization. We should not have any direct contact with a scholar via cell phone, text, or social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Thread, any direct messages, any private messages, even with their parents. If it isn't directly through, I think it's Parent Square, and there's a couple of other apps that the office people are using. Just stay away from it and refrain from communicating that way. If you need to communicate a message to scholars specifically in special education, emerging bilinguals, the parents that are in those groups, please use Parent Square or devise a way to do that through the main office with the PCs, the OAs, or your SOM or the community schools person on your campus. This is becoming serious because now things are being investigated with some employees. Some employees are being disciplined, and it's going as far as people possibly could be terminated. So I rather all job positions under the classified realm be protected in that area. Again, no social media and no text threads or private messages or DMs with the scholars or your parent groups. Please do it through whatever avenue your school is using to protect yourself. The biggest thing that everybody's been waiting on is following up on benefits and compensation. Our benefits will stay the same, but please check your paychecks to make sure that the amount that's being deducted from your payroll is correct. All of us had a scare this summer where we received letters from our medical provider saying that we no longer had coverage. And was that true? Literally, yes. We went through a process where we were separating from certain entities. And once you separate those entities, you have to send out a letter automatically saying you are no longer covered because that entity is the one that was paying for the coverage. And then it switched over to Green Dot California taking over all the payments and processing for benefits for all employees, and then everyone was reinstated. So it was a 24-hour period, but those letters went out. It scared a lot of people. It changed the amounts of your copay or your prescription prices that you're paying for your medicines. So all of that's cleared up. I apologize, but it really should be HR apologizing to you guys. Or they should have sent out a notice warning everyone, hey, this is about to happen. Anticipate no disruption in your medical benefits or your services. That did not happen. However, we're all made whole. Just double check your medical deductions on your payroll checks. I would say check between the months of July, August, and August. So that's about 4 checks that you would have to check and make sure that it's the right amount. And if they didn't make the deductions, check on your August and September checks to see if they doubled the deductions, because then that's something that you would have to talk to them about. Compensation that was coming up, the initial compensation that they gave us was they wanted to do 1%. That was something that I was struggling with, and I dared not bring that back to you. The next option was that they wanted to, I'm trying to prepare myself to share my screen. They wanted to offer 2% to all new coming employees. I'm sorry, 2.5% to all new coming employees and 2% in the next buckets. And I personally was uncomfortable with that. The team that was at the negotiation table felt that that was a good percentage. However, they were trying to take out longevity. And so what we've been struggling with is, again, newer employees coming into the organization are coming in at a higher rate of pay or rewarded because they are new employees, and the older employees or your veterans are just getting the basic or below raise and not being rewarded, or they feel unappreciated. And so morale's been down for a while. We've kind of come out the COVID thing, and so people feeling better about that. However, all the grants and funding that came with COVID and ESSER are now gone. If you have a community schools grant, it's very specific, and so your office manager and your principals are being very vigilant and spend the money in the right line items. And in that, questioning, okay, please do not do overtime without approval. Anything that goes over your regular hours is being questioned or not even processed. And so the chatter from all the employees on Greendot Day in August, and even our most recent Greendot Day, is like, hey, when are they going to talk to us about compensation? What is it looking like? Are we going to get a raise this year? And if so, is it going to be retro? So my last counter was, let's see here. The last thing we sent to Green Dot was asking that they keep longevity, because they wanted to take it completely out the contract and completely off the table. We asked that they keep it. What they did offer was reducing it down to 2%, 3%, and 4% for 10, 15, and 20 years. We wanted to add 25 years because we're getting to the point where we have employees, only a handful, but we have some employees that have been here that long. So we're willing to take them reducing the longevity percentages, but not taking it away, and asking that if they do increase everybody, that they increase everyone across the board, new employees and all, at 2%. They have not gotten back to us about that. So we're just really waiting. I also ask, if you, as you see in the highlighted area right here, that they retro it back to July 1st of 2024. Some of you worked in the summer, so you will receive extra money because you worked in the summer, because it covers that time. And then everyone else according to when they started back to school. And for some of us, that's when butts are in seats, and that's kind of like August 8th. August 7th, August 8th, when that actually will take place if they finally agree on this. Really pushing them to do this before we get to even October, which is within the next week or so. Also, there's a couple of changes in the language for judicial leave. And so anyone that's taken time off to do court, to do jury work, we added a couple of things and also something for a couple of employees that are still connected to the military. So their military leaves will be changed also. Long as they had documentation that they could be compensated up to 10 additional days if they're doing jury duty. Report it to your principal and submit the information to HR. And if they're in the military, they will be compensated for whatever time that they were outside of what they do with the services, the military services that they're with. Again, compensation has been sent back out. We're asking for 2% all the way across in each bucket. That way it's fair to everyone from beginning to end, and that they keep longevity for those that have been with the organization 10, 15, 20 years, and that they retro it back to July 1st of 2024. If you guys have any questions, you have any comments, and I'm sure some of you have concerns, please email myself at LaTonya.Lopez@animo.org, or anyone on the executive board or any of the school reps. We still need school reps on all the campuses. Some campuses don't have reps. You don't have to be super active with the e-board if you don't want to. It's just making sure that you have representation and can get the communication about what's going on for classified, and share that with your campus. Or if you're trying to step up the plate and be in leadership and help represent some people, because you're now understanding how the contract is very valuable to protecting us as employees, please reach out to any of us. The vice president is Jamila McClendon. Our secretary is Daisy Contreras. And then we have other site reps at Venice, at Legacy, at Locke, at Watts, at Jackie Robinson, South LA. Please reach out to one of us, or either share the information with someone on your campus that's willing to give us a call or a text and share that information about whatever your concern and question is. And we'll be sure to get that back to you specifically, and then share out whole with the group, because if one person's kind of concerned about something, normally other people are questioning it also. They just have a fear about bringing it up. So I'm hoping that the information that I share with you answer some of the questions that have been spiraling in your brain. All of us feel like we deserve more money, more appreciation. Know that my e-board team appreciates the work that you're doing. We appreciate the dedication that you have, even when morale is down, even when the kids are stressing us out. We really appreciate that the work that you're doing on your campus is, because without you guys, schools will not open, families will not be fed, communication back and forth between teachers and staff just wouldn't exist, because you guys really work the foundation of the schools. I appreciate everything you're doing, and I hope to hear from you guys soon. You guys have a good one.